You know what weakens a man before he even begins? Talking, speaking too early, revealing too much, sharing your vision with people who don't understand its depth or your hunger. I've seen it time and time again, brilliant people sabotaging their future by announcing it too soon. They post every little win, every minor plan, every dream they haven't even earned yet, hoping for applause from people who aren't even clapping for themselves. But let me tell you something from the heart. Silence is not weakness. It is power. It is clarity. It is your weapon in a noisy, distracted world that profits off your chaos. If you truly want to rise, grow, and become unshakable, then you must first learn how to move in silence, how to train without spectators, how to heal without posting, how to build without broadcasting. Only then will your life be your own. Let me teach you now 7 powerful lessons on keeping your life quiet and protecting your power. 1. Silence protects you from jealousy you cannot see. When you begin to share your ambitions, your next move, or your early victories with the world, what you're really doing is opening the door to your most sacred internal space, your dreams, your desires, your personal evolution, and handing the key to people who may not have the purity of heart to honor it. You might feel excited to express it, thinking that others will cheer you on, hoping that your enthusiasm will be matched with encouragement, that your vulnerability will be met with love. But in reality, most people are not listening with admiration. They're listening with comparison. They're weighing your growth against their own stagnation. They are calculating silently, often feeling threatened by the very thing you're proud of. And what hurts the most is that you won't always see it. The ones you think are supporting you might actually be planting silent seeds of doubt, waiting for the moment you slip so they can confirm their belief that you never deserved to rise in the first place. Jealousy, contrary to what many believe, doesn't always look like hate or confrontation. It doesn't always come with insults or open hostility. No, jealousy is clever. It often wears a friendly face. It asks curious questions. It gives you fake smiles and vague compliments. It disguises itself as concern, even admiration. But its real goal is to keep you small, to interfere with your flow, to make you question your direction. It's a spiritual poison that spreads quietly when you speak too openly. That's why you must be mindful of who gets to hear about your next step. Because every time you share, you transfer some of your energy. You give away a little piece of your drive. You make your inner fire visible. And when it's visible, it's vulnerable. Think about nature. A seed planted in the soil doesn't demand recognition every day. It doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't announce its progress to the forest. It grows quietly, buried deep beneath the surface, away from sight and danger. The farmer doesn't dig it up every day to prove it's alive. He waters it, protects it, trusts the process, and knows that with time, it will rise. You are no different. Your goals, your visions, your transformations, they are sacred. They don't need to be on display. They don't need an audience in their early stages. In fact, the more you expose them before they are ready, the more you risk weakening them with outside energy. When you speak too soon, you don't just share your plans, you hand over the power to influence them. People may try to delay you with doubt. They may mock your vision because they can't see what you see. Or worse, they may take your ideas, your approach, your inspiration, and run with it before you do. And you'll be left confused, wondering why your momentum feels drained, why your motivation suddenly fades. But it was never lost. It was leaked through unnecessary words, leaked through premature sharing, leaked through your need for approval. So stop putting your process on display for people who don't deserve front row seats to your life. The world doesn't need to know your every move. It doesn't need to be updated on your every milestone. What it needs is to feel the impact when you arrive fully formed, when your work speaks louder than your words. When your results become undeniable, the truth is, not everyone who claps for you is rooting for you. And not everyone who smiles at your success wants to see you win. That's why silence is your shield. It's your sacred ground. It's the place where your energy grows strong without the contamination of envy, judgment, or distraction. So guard your goals like they're treasure. Speak only when it's safe, or better yet, when you've already crossed the finish line. Silence doesn't mean hiding. It means protecting. It means staying rooted while you grow. It means moving with quiet confidence and unshakable discipline. Remember, real power doesn't boast. It just shows up and changes everything. 2, most people don't listen to support you, they listen to measure you. You might believe that sharing your thoughts, your plans, your struggles with others will bring you closer to them, that it will invite support, comfort, and understanding. But the harsh truth I learned through both observation and experience is that most people aren't listening to support you, they're listening to measure you. They are not tuning in to understand your heart. They are silently calculating your strength, your pace, your potential, and comparing it to their own. Whether they admit it or not, your progress becomes a mirror they are forced to look into, and not everyone likes the reflection. When you share your next step, some will pretend to encourage you while secretly hoping you fall short because your courage highlights their fear, your discipline exposes their laziness, and your ambition makes their excuses look small. And that discomfort, it turns their attention not toward cheering you on, but toward figuring out how to keep you from getting too far ahead. It becomes less about your journey and more about their insecurity. They begin to measure not just where you are, but where you might be going. And if your destination threatens their comfort, their subconscious will try to sabotage it through doubt, through subtle discouragement, through passive-aggressive remarks wrapped in concern. You might think you're just being honest, being open, being transparent. But in the wrong ears, your openness becomes ammunition. Your story becomes gossip. Your pain becomes entertainment. Your ideas become competition. They take mental notes. They record your dreams, not with admiration, but with suspicion. And when the moment comes, they use those very words to question your worth, to mock your effort, or to act as if they know your path better than you do. That's why I learned to speak less and observe more. I became deliberate with my words, not because I feared judgment, but because I understood this simple truth. When you keep your mouth closed, you protect your power. You stay grounded in your own vision, undisturbed by their projections. You don't owe anyone a roadmap to your soul. You don't need to give constant updates on your growth to feel valid. The more you speak, the more you expose yourself to energy that can shake your focus. The less they know, the less they can manipulate. The less you reveal, the more control you keep. Your silence is not coldness, it is wisdom. It's understanding that sacred things deserve sacred space. That your evolution is not a public event, it is a private transformation. You don't need outside voices to guide what's growing within, because most people can only give you advice from the level of consciousness they're stuck in. And if their mindset is rooted in limitation, fear, jealousy, or regret, then their words, no matter how polished, will only pollute your path. So keep your goals away from shallow conversations. Keep your plans out of mouths that speak without thinking. Keep your progress to yourself until it's too loud to ignore. Because when you allow others to weigh in on a journey they're not walking, you give them the illusion of control and you let their perception dictate your direction. You are not meant to be understood by everyone. You are meant to be aligned with your purpose. If that alignment requires silence, distance, and solitude, so be it. That is not isolation. That is elevation. You're rising, and not everyone deserves a seat at the table where you become who you were always meant to be. So let them wonder, let them guess, let them create stories in the absence of updates. You don't owe them clarity. You owe yourself focus. And that focus lives in silence. 3. Mystery makes you powerful in a world addicted to exposure. There is something deeply underestimated in today's world, something so rare that it immediately creates respect and curiosity when you embody it. That thing is mystery. In an age where people are addicted to revealing every detail of their lives, where oversharing has become a currency for attention, mystery has become a forgotten art. But I learned long ago, both through the discipline of martial arts and the discipline of life, that power often grows not in what is seen, but in what is hidden. When people cannot figure you out, they become cautious around you. Not because they fear you in a shallow way, but because they sense there is more to you than what is being shown. And that unspoken depth makes them pause. That pause gives you space. That space gives you power. You see, once people think they fully understand you, they put you in a box. They stop looking deeper. They stop listening carefully. They assume they can predict your moves. And once they think they know your next step, they prepare for it. They try to get ahead of you. They try to match or manipulate your direction. But when you're unpredictable, when you move without announcement, when you grow in silence and strike with precision, there is nothing they can do to keep up. Because by the time they react, it's already too late. You've evolved. You've arrived. You've already built what they didn't even see coming. Mystery creates respect. It forces people to meet you with humility because they don't know what you know, they don't know how you move, and they don't know what you're capable of. And when they don't know, they can't control. In martial arts, the most dangerous fighter is not the loudest one in the room. It's the one whose eyes are quiet, whose breath is steady, whose movements are unreadable. That is the fighter no one wants to test. Because they don't just fight with strength, they fight with strategy, with patience, with presence. You must live the same way. Let the world see only a glimpse of what you carry. Let them hear only echoes of what you're building. Speak when necessary. Move when ready. And let your absence be just as loud as your presence. Because in silence you grow. In silence you prepare. And when you finally move, that move carries the full weight of your unseen labor. Mystery does not mean isolation. It means self-control. It means knowing the difference between being impressive and being powerful. Many people are addicted to being impressive, constantly showing, performing, seeking praise. But truly powerful people have nothing to prove. They do not chase attention. They carry a presence that speaks louder than performance ever could. They understand that power revealed too soon loses its edge. It becomes diluted, analyzed, copied, and weakened. But when your moves are quiet, your intentions are hidden, and your growth is protected, you become a storm building on the horizon. Silent, unstoppable. And by the time they realize your presence, you've already changed the landscape. So let others broadcast their every breath. Let them announce every idea before it's even formed. You stay calm. You stay focused. You stay unreadable. Not because you're afraid to be known, but because you are preparing to be felt. Let them underestimate you. Let them doubt you. Let them talk in your silence. But remember this, when a lion hunts, he doesn't roar, he moves in silence. And when he strikes, the jungle remembers. That is the power of mystery. That is the energy of someone who has nothing to prove but everything to become for. Speaking too much drains the very energy you need to transform. There is a quiet truth that most people never come to realize until it's too late. Your words cost you energy. Every time you speak about what you're going to do, Every time you explain your plans, every time you seek validation or try to prove your worth through words, you're slowly draining the very force you need to carry those plans into reality. The human spirit is not limitless when it's distracted. Your mind can either be a furnace that transforms your will into action, or a leaking pipe that spills your power into the hands of others. And the number one leak: useless conversation. In my own life, I discovered early that the more I spoke about something, the less urgency I felt to do it. Words gave me the illusion of progress, but that illusion was a trap. It made me feel as if speaking it was the same as living it, but it's not. Telling the world what you're about to do gives your brain a false reward. It tricks you into thinking you've achieved something just by saying it out loud. But reality doesn't reward intention. It rewards execution. No one becomes a master by talking about their practice. They become a master by sweating, failing, learning, and rising again silently over and over in the dark. When you speak too often about your dreams, you also invite friction. Suddenly, people want to give their opinions, their doubts, their outdated logic. They want to help you by reshaping your vision to fit into their limited worldview. And if you're not careful, their words begin to mold your thoughts. You find yourself questioning what was once clear. You start adjusting your rhythm to match their pace. That's how you lose your edge. Not all at once, but in small, invisible ways. A comment here, a smirk there, a seed of doubt planted quietly, growing roots beneath your confidence. That is why silence must become your ally. Not because you're afraid to be seen, but because you're too focused to be disturbed. The time you spend talking should be redirected into refining. The energy wasted explaining should be poured into executing. Every moment of stillness becomes fuel for your next move. Every quiet night spent working while others are busy performing becomes a hidden advantage. Because when you eventually show the world what you've built, it will speak so loudly you won't need to say a word. Powerful transformation requires deep concentration. And deep concentration cannot survive in an environment full of noise. When you're constantly talking, updating, proving, you never enter the stillness required to evolve. You remain on the surface of your mind, never diving into the depths where real breakthroughs are born. But in silence, you hear the truth. You meet the part of yourself that isn't distracted by praise or criticism. You discover the raw, unshaped power within, and that power begins to take form, not through explanation, but through action. People often ask how to become more disciplined, more focused, more powerful. My answer is simple: stop speaking and start doing. Remove the need to explain your process to those who haven't earned the right to hear it. Remove the habit of using words as a substitute for work. Learn to feel the difference between movement and noise. Because the man who saves his breath sharpens his blade. The man who conserves his energy becomes deadly in his precision. And the man who speaks only through action becomes unforgettable. So the next time you're tempted to tell someone about your next move, pause and ask yourself, does this need to be said, or does it need to be done? Do I need applause, or do I need results? Every time you choose silence, you choose to keep your power close. You choose to become a deeper thinker, a stronger mover, a more refined weapon. And when the moment comes to show the world who you are, your work will speak with the force of 1,000 quiet nights, of every unseen sacrifice, of every silent victory. And in that moment, you won't need a single word to be heard. 5. Your peace is a sacred ground. Don't let curiosity trample it. There is a sacred place within you that most people never protect. That place is your peace, your inner stillness, your mental quiet, your emotional clarity. In a world obsessed with noise, with updates, with constant interaction, your peace is one of the few things that can keep you sane, focused, and powerful. But here's the mistake people make. They give that peace away to anyone who asks about it. They open the door to their mind, The moment someone knocks, even if the guest comes with muddy feet, careless questions, or intentions they don't even understand themselves, you must realize not everyone who asks about your life cares about your life. Some people ask because they're bored, because they're curious, because they want something to talk about later when you're not in the room. They dig not out of concern, but out of habit. And if you're not careful, you'll keep handing out pieces of your peace to people who were never meant to hold it. They will ask, "What are you working on?" They will ask, "Are you okay?" They will ask, "What's next for you?" And each time, you'll feel that pull, the urge to explain, to share, to let someone into your world. But before you answer, pause. Ask yourself, do they deserve to know? Have they earned a place in the quiet chambers of my process? Or are they simply passing by, trying to peek into something they were never invited to witness? Your peace is not a public park. It's not open for wandering thoughts or casual visitors. It's a temple, a sacred ground. And if you let every random person stroll through it with their unfiltered energy and wandering opinions, you will find yourself constantly cleaning up emotional messes that were never yours to begin with. When I was training, when I was rebuilding myself in the dark, I learned that peace is not something you find, it's something you build, moment by moment, choice by choice. And once built, it requires guardianship. I had to become the guardian of my own mind. I had to learn how to protect my energy, not just from enemies, but from distractions disguised as friends, from well-meaning people who carried chaos like perfume, from the noise that came dressed as curiosity. Let me be. Clear curiosity is not always a compliment. Some people don't ask to learn, they ask to judge. They ask so they can measure you against others. They ask so they can feel better about not moving forward by convincing themselves that you haven't either. And when you answer, when you open that window, even just a little, you allow their noise to echo through your temple. You don't owe answers to everyone. You don't need to explain your healing to people who haven't even started theirs. You don't have to broadcast your peace just to prove you have it. Real peace doesn't announce itself, it radiates. It's felt, not explained. And when you truly have it, you'll find that silence becomes your default language. You'll stop oversharing. You'll stop justifying. You'll stop handing out your energy like it's free. Because you'll know anything that costs you your peace is too expensive. You must learn to protect that quiet space inside you like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Your decisions come from that place. Your clarity is born in that place. Your creativity, your intuition, your next move, all of it rises from silence. And when that silence is disturbed by too many voices, too many opinions, too much explaining, you lose your compass. So the next time someone asks about your plans, your wounds, your journey, remember, you are not obligated to answer. You can smile, you can nod, you can say, "I'm working on it," and keep walking. You can protect your process without guilt. You can build your empire in silence and let the world see it only when it's ready. Because when you protect your peace, you protect your power. And when your power is intact, there's nothing the world can do to stop you. 6. True power grows in the dark. People often think that greatness is something you chase under a spotlight, something you earn in front of crowds, something that arrives when the world finally sees you. But that's the illusion. The reality is much quieter, much lonelier, and far more sacred. True power does not grow when you're being watched. It grows in the dark. It develops when no one is clapping, when no one is asking, when no one is even aware of what you're becoming. That is the space where transformation happens. Not when you're being validated, but when you're invisible. When I was building myself, I didn't seek permission. I didn't ask for recognition. I withdrew not because I was afraid, but because I understood that becoming something greater required full concentration. It demanded stillness, focus, and freedom from outside influence. If you are always in the light, always being seen, always being heard, then your energy is divided. You start shaping yourself based on what others see, not on what you truly are. But in the dark, there is no audience. There is no pressure to perform. There is only truth. There is only you. Think of a seed. Before it ever reaches sunlight, it has to break open underground. It has to fight through the soil. It has to grow in a place where there is no applause, no approval, no eyes watching. And yet, it still pushes forward because life doesn't need permission to rise. It only needs the right conditions. You are no different. If you want to become something powerful, you must learn to love the dark. Not because you want to hide, but because you want to evolve without interference. The problem is, people fear the dark. They fear the silence, the stillness, the absence of noise. They feel invisible and panic. They crave updates, applause, feedback. They rush to show the world their progress, even when it's barely formed. But power doesn't grow in performance. It grows in preparation. And preparation is a deeply personal, often invisible process. When I was at my most disciplined, nobody knew what I was doing. I wasn't updating the world. I wasn't sharing training footage. I was sharpening myself alone, hour by hour, day by day. And the strength I built in that solitude became the force the world could not ignore when I emerged. Because when you've built yourself in the dark, no one can take it from you. It's yours, rooted, unshakable. But if you try to grow in the light too soon, if you pull yourself out of the soil before you've developed roots, you'll collapse under your own exposure. You'll depend on validation. You'll become fragile. You'll look strong on the surface, but hollow underneath. And the first storm will break you. So learn to retreat. Learn to step away, not forever, but long enough to build something real. Don't fear solitude. Fear distraction. Don't fear being unseen. Fear being watched before you're ready. Don't crave quick success. Crave quiet strength. Because when your power is grown in silence, it becomes unshakable in the spotlight. People will wonder where you went. They'll question your absence. Let them. While they're talking, you're building. While they're watching each other, you're focusing inward. And when you return, you won't return needing anything from them, not their approval, not their praise, not their permission. You'll return complete. So go now. Step into the dark. Take your vision with you. Carry your discipline like a torch and build quietly. Because when the roots are deep, the tree does not fear the wind. And when the warrior is formed in silence, no noise in the world can disturb his mind. 7. Speak only when you can say, I did it, I became it, I lived it. There is a moment in life when you must decide what kind of person you want to be, someone who talks about what they will become, or someone who becomes it in silence and lets the world witness the result. We live in a time where people confuse words with transformation, where they believe that declaring a goal is the same as achieving it. They say, I'm going to change, I'm going to succeed, I'm going to be better. But that saying becomes a cycle, a performance, a substitute for action. And eventually, it becomes noise, empty, recycled noise that does nothing but dilute their own fire. I learned early that the more I spoke of something before I lived it, the weaker it became. It lost its sacredness. It lost its urgency. Every time I opened my mouth to explain what I planned to do, I was giving away the energy I needed to do it. So I chose a different path. I chose the path of doing first, becoming first, living it, breathing it, bleeding for it, and then letting the results speak on my behalf. There is a different kind of power in the man who says nothing, who doesn't announce his intentions, who doesn't seek applause for preparation. That kind of man walks into a room and doesn't have to explain his value, you feel it. That kind of man doesn't have to tell you he's ready. You can see it in his eyes, in the way he stands, in the calm intensity of his silence. His presence speaks, his energy speaks. His actions have already told the story before his mouth ever opens. The world doesn't need more promises. It doesn't need more people saying, I'm going to. It needs people who are already living it. It needs men and women who have gone to war in silence, who have battled their old selves, rebuilt their mindsets, disciplined their bodies, and returned with results that need no introduction. That is the kind of power that doesn't fade. That is the kind of respect you don't have to beg for. You earn it through presence alone. You have to ask yourself, what are you chasing? Approval or alignment? Do you want to be recognized early, or do you want to be remembered forever? Because those who speak too soon often fade too quickly. They burn out before the fire has matured. But those who remain in silence, those who master their craft without speaking of it, those who show up when it's done, when it's real, when it's undeniable, they are the ones who last. And make no mistake, this is not about hiding. This is about readiness. You don't speak to convince others. You speak when the truth has taken root in you so deeply that it cannot be denied. You speak when your life has become the proof. You speak not because you need to, but because you've already done it. So, the next time you're tempted to explain yourself, to declare your next chapter before you've even started it, remember this: don't tell them you're going to evolve. Evolve in silence. Don't tell them you're going to rise in silence. Don't tell them you're going to be different. Be different. Be the man or woman who shows up one day and no longer fits into the old conversations, the old habits, the old identity. Let your transformation be so complete that they can't even recognize you, and let that be your answer. Speak only when you can say, I did it. Not when you plan to, not when you dream to, but when it's done, when it's real, when it's you. Because in the end, your silence won't make them forget you. Your results will make them remember you forever. Now that you've heard these lessons, I want you to stop and breathe, not just with your lungs, but with your mind. Ask yourself, quietly and honestly, how much of your life have you given away through noise? How many ideas were weakened because you spoke too soon? How many times did you open the door to your peace just to let curiosity trample through it? How often have you been more focused on being seen than on becoming someone worth seeing? I don't say this to shame you. I say this to wake you. Because if there's one thing I've learned through discipline, through failure, through relentless growth, it's that real power never rushes to be noticed. It's not loud. It's not showy. It doesn't chase applause. It doesn't seek validation. It is calm. It is grounded. And it is earned in silence, day by day, breath by breath, battle by battle. The world will tempt you to speak often, to post constantly, to perform endlessly. It will tell you that if you're not seen, you're not successful. That if you're not updating everyone, you must be falling behind. But that world is confused. It has mistaken noise for power. And you are not here to be loud. You are here to be legendary. So, walk away from the need to explain. Abandon the habit of oversharing. End the addiction to being known too soon. Instead, train in silence. Heal in silence. Plan in silence. Rise in silence. Let every quiet step you take become the foundation of something unstoppable. Let your absence be felt more than your presence is heard. Let your silence shake the room before your words ever arrive. And when the time comes, when your results stand tall, when your evolution is undeniable, when your presence is a force they cannot ignore, then speak, not to prove, not to impress, but to teach, to guide, to lead from experience, not theory. That is the way of the warrior. That is the path of one who masters himself before trying to influence the world. So now I ask you, will you continue leaking your power for the comfort of being noticed? Or will you disappear for a while, build yourself in silence, and return as someone the world can never forget? Because silence is not the absence of sound, it's the presence of strength. And if you want to become unshakable in this life, then start now. Say less, do more, and let your silence speak louder than 1,000 words ever could.